At the inheritance meeting, my daughter-in-law shouted proudly, her voice echoing through the attorney's office in downtown Atlanta. My father-in-law left us the 6 Miami houses. Ella, too bad, you only got the shed in Mississippi. People actually applauded her. I sat there quietly, watching my son Tyler stare at his hands, unable to meet my eyes. Then I smiled slightly and said, "Son, you really don't know, do you?" Cassandra froze mid-celebration, her face transforming in an instant. She screamed, "Mom! You know what? I suppose I should start at the beginning, back when life made sense and my family was whole. 42 years ago, I married Gerald in a tiny ceremony in Savannah, Georgia. We were both from modest backgrounds. He worked construction, pouring concrete and framing houses in the summer heat. I taught 3rd grade at Jefferson Elementary, spending my evenings grading papers and my weekends planning lessons. We weren't rich, but we were happy. We saved every single penny, lived in a tiny apartment for the first 3 years, and ate more rice and beans than I care to remember. When we finally bought our first house, Gerald built half of it himself. I can still picture him on summer evenings, shirt soaked with sweat, hammering and sawing until the sun went down. We had 2 beautiful children. Tyler came first, 38 years ago now, followed 3 years later by his sister Ella. I raised them with the same values Gerald and I shared. Work hard, tell the truth, and family comes first, always. Gerald's parents passed away when Tyler was just 10 years old. They left him a small property in Mississippi. Nothing fancy. Just an old shed on 20 acres of scrubby land near a town called Magnolia Springs. Population 812. We drove down there once to see it, and honestly, it looked like something out of a forgotten movie. The shed was weathered wood, maybe 30 feet by 20 feet, with a roof that sagged in places. The land around it was overgrown with weeds and scattered pine trees. We paid the property taxes every year, but nobody thought much about it. It seemed worthless, really. Over the next 30 years, Gerald worked harder than any man I've ever known. He invested carefully, watching the market, reading everything he could about real estate. During the Florida boom in the 90s, when prices were still reasonable, he bought 6 small houses in Miami. Nothing fancy, just modest rental properties in working-class neighborhoods. He fixed them up himself on weekends, drove down there twice a year to check on tenants. The houses provided steady income, maybe $3,000 a month total after expenses, but they weren't spectacular, just solid, dependable investments. We were a close family back then. Every Sunday, we'd gather for dinner at our house in Atlanta. Gerald would grill steaks or burgers, and I'd make my potato salad and sweet tea. The kids would bring friends. And later, when they grew up, their significant others. We'd sit on the back porch until dark, talking and laughing. Holidays were the same. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter. We were together, always together. 8 years ago, everything started to change. Tyler was 30 then, working at a financial services firm in Atlanta. Had done well for himself, climbing the corporate ladder, making good money. That's when he met Cassandra. She was 26. Beautiful in that polished way some women achieve. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfect clothes. She came from a wealthy Atlanta family, the kind that belonged to country clubs and threw charity galas. Tyler was absolutely smitten. She swept him off his feet with her sophistication and charm. I noticed something wrong from the very first dinner. Gerald wanted to welcome her, kept saying we should give her a chance. But I saw things. The way her eyes moved around our house, calculating. The questions she asked about Gerald's work, about our investments, about family finances. She laughed at all the right moments and said all the right things. But it felt rehearsed, practiced. Their wedding was lavish. Cassandra's parents paid for everything, and she made certain everyone knew it. 300 guests at the Atlanta Botanical Garden, a 10-piece band, flowers everywhere. During the rehearsal dinner, Cassandra made a toast. She joked, with this tinkling little laugh, about how Tyler would inherit all those properties someday. Everyone laughed along with her, but I felt a chill run down my spine. Gerald squeezed my hand under the table. Later that night, he whispered, "I saw it too." After the marriage, things deteriorated slowly. Cassandra started finding reasons why they couldn't make Sunday dinners. Tyler's tired from work. We have plans with my family. I'm not feeling well. Once a week became once a month, then once a quarter. I tried calling Tyler directly, but Cassandra always seemed to be there, listening on speakerphone. I'd suggest lunch, just the two of us, and he'd say he had to check with Cassie first. My son, the boy Eid raised to be independent and strong, was disappearing into someone else's shadow. Ella noticed it too. She'd tried to plan sibling outings, but Tyler always canceled at the last minute. Cassandra would post photos on social media showing them at restaurants or events at the exact times Tyler was supposed to meet his sister. It was calculated, deliberate isolation. 2 years ago, our world shattered. Gerald was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctor gave him 6 to 12 months. I remember sitting in that sterile office, holding Gerald's hand, watching 40 years of dreams evaporate in the space of a single sentence. We told the kids immediately. Ella came over that same evening, crying, holding her father. Tyler showed up 3 days later, with Cassandra attached to his side like a shadow. Gerald declined rapidly. I took leave from teaching to care for him full-time. Ella was there constantly, helping me with medications, sitting with her father so I could shower or sleep. Tyler visited sporadically, always with Cassandra directing the visits. They'd stay exactly an hour, never more. Cassandra would check her phone the entire time. In those final months, Gerald became secretive. He'd make phone calls in the other room, speaking in hushed tones. He took 3 trips to Mississippi, driving himself even though I begged him to let me come along. He'd just smile and say, "I'm taking care of things, Bryn. Trust me." And I did. In 42 years of marriage, we'd never kept real secrets from each other. He met with attorneys privately, came home with folders of documents that he locked in his desk. When I asked what he was planning, he'd kiss my forehead and say, "I'm making sure everyone gets what they deserve." Those were his exact words. What they deserve. 3 months ago, Gerald passed away in our bedroom, with me holding his hand and Ella reading to him from his favorite book. It was peaceful as death can be. Tyler arrived 20 minutes later. At the funeral, Cassandra cried dramatically, her sobs echoing through the church. But I noticed her whispering to Tyler during the service, saw her glancing at her phone. At the reception afterward, I overheard her telling someone, "Well, at least the financial stress is over now." The day after we buried my husband, Cassandra found me in the kitchen. I was washing dishes, just trying to keep my hands busy, trying not to fall apart. She came up beside me, put her hand on my arm with this sickeningly sweet expression, and said, "Mom, I know this is hard, but Tyler and I have been discussing things. We think it's best if you consider moving to a smaller place. Those Miami houses need proper management, and honestly, at your age, wouldn't you be more comfortable somewhere with less responsibility?" I stood there, soap suds dripping from my hands, staring at this woman. My husband had been in the ground for less than 24 hours. Tyler appeared in the doorway. He wouldn't look at me, just mumbled, "Mom, it's just practical. We're thinking of your well-being." That's when I realized they'd been planning this. Before Gerald even died, they'd been discussing how to divide up his property, how to displace me from my own home. Ella walked in, saw what was happening, and exploded. She called Cassandra every name I'd ever forbidden in my house. Cassandra just smiled that perfect smile and said, "Ella's always been so emotional." 6 weeks after Gerald's death, we gathered at attorney Harold Harper's office in downtown Atlanta. It was a gray Tuesday morning, the kind of day that matches grief perfectly. The office was all dark wood paneling and leather chairs, diplomas framed on the walls. Mr. Harper had been Gerald's attorney for 20 years, a dignified man in his 60s with silver hair and kind eyes. We sat around his conference table, me, Tyler, Cassandra, Ella, and Mr. Harper. Cassandra's parents were there too. For some reason, Shed insisted they had a right to attend. They sat in the corner, looking smug and entitled. Mr. Harper opened his briefcase and pulled out Gerald's last will and testament. He started with the formalities, reading the legal language that basically confirmed Gerald was of sound mind when he made these decisions. Then he moved to the bequests. To Jefferson Elementary, where my beloved wife taught for 35 years, I leave $10,000 for the library fund. To the Atlanta Food Bank, $10,000. To my daughter Ella, I leave my coin collection, which she has admired since childhood, and $20,000 to pursue her dreams. Ella smiled through her tears. "Thank you, Daddy," she whispered. Shed always loved those coins, spent hours as a little girl examining them with Gerald, learning their history. Mr. Harper continued, "To my son Tyler and his wife Cassandra, I leave my 6 rental properties located in Miami, Florida, including all furnishings and current lease agreements." Cassandra squealed, actually squealed like a teenager. She grabbed Tyler's hand, bounced in her seat. Tyler looked uncomfortable but managed a smile. 6 houses in Miami. Even I knew they were worth significant money, probably close to $2 million total. Then Mr. Harper read, "To my beloved wife Bryn, my partner of 42 years, I leave the property in Magnolia Springs, Mississippi, including all structures and land rights therein, as well as our family home in Atlanta, and all remaining assets." Cassandra burst out laughing. The sound was shocking in that quiet office, harsh and mocking. "That old shed?" "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry." But her tone wasn't sympathetic, it was triumphant. She stood up, literally stood up like she was giving a speech. She looked around the room at Mr. Harper, at her parents, at Ella. "The Miami houses are worth at least $2 million total, and she gets that worthless shed on swampland in Mississippi?" She turned to me, her smile poisonous. "My father-in-law left us the 6 Miami houses. Ella, too bad. You only got the shed in Mississippi." Her parents actually applauded. They clapped their hands together, grinning. Other family members Cassandra had invited nodded approvingly. Mr. Harper looked deeply uncomfortable, shuffling papers on his desk. Tyler sat frozen, staring at the table. I noticed his jaw was clenched, a muscle twitching in his cheek. I stayed completely calm. I'd learned long ago that silence is often more powerful than words. I watched Cassandra bask in her moment, watched her perform her victory for her audience. Then I spoke, my voice quiet but clear. "Son, you really don't know, do you?" The room went silent. Cassandra's smile faltered. She looked at Tyler, then back at me. Her face began to change, triumph morphing into something like fear. "Know what?" Tyler asked, confused. I just smiled. Gerald was a wise man. He made sure everyone got exactly what they deserved. Cassandra's voice rose to a scream. "Mom! You know what? What does that mean? What are you talking about?" I stood, collecting my purse calmly. "Mr. Harper has my contact information. When you figure it out, you know where to find me." I walked to the door. Ella followed me, fighting back laughter. Behind us, Cassandra was frantically asking the attorney questions. "What does she mean? Is there something else? What's in Mississippi?" "Mr. Harper replied in his professional monotone. "The will is ironclad and properly executed. All properties have been deeded according to Mr. Gerald's explicit instructions." In the parking lot, Ella grabbed my arm. "Mom, what did Dad do?" I smiled. "Your father loved us, and he was smarter than anyone gave him credit for." That evening, I knew Cassandra would be searching online. I imagined her hunched over her laptop, typing frantically. Magnolia Springs, Mississippi. Property values, land worth, shed find nothing remarkable. The town was tiny, unknown. The property tax assessment showed the land was worth maybe $22,000. Agricultural, low value, nothing special. Sure enough, my phone rang at 9 that night. Cassandra's voice was syrupy sweet again. "Hi, Mom. I just wanted to check on you. I know today was emotional. Tyler and I were thinking, maybe you'd like some help managing that Mississippi property? We could take it off your hands, let you focus on the Atlanta house." I replied calmly. "That's very thoughtful, dear, but I'll be managing it myself." "But Mom, it's so far away. And honestly, what are you going to do with a shed and some empty land?" Gerald left it to me. Cassandra. He must have had his reasons. She tried a few more approaches, subtle and not so subtle, before finally giving up. I could hear the frustration in her voice when she said goodbye. 2 weeks later, the real campaign began. Cassandra called me on a Wednesday morning, 2 weeks after the will reading. I was in my garden, pulling weeds, trying to find peace in familiar tasks. Her voice came through my phone with false brightness. "Mom, Tyler and I have been talking, and we've made a decision. We need the family house." I stood up, wiping dirt from my hands. "Excuse me?" "The house where you and Gerald lived. Where you raised us?" she corrected herself, as if that gave her claim. "It's too big for one person, Mom. You're all alone there now, and Tyler and I are planning to start a family. We need the space. Gerald left me this house, Cassandra. I've lived here for 37 years. I'm not leaving." Her voice hardened. "Fine, but don't expect us to help with maintenance. If the roof leaks or the furnace breaks, that's on you." "I've been maintaining this house for decades," I replied. "I think you'll manage." She hung up without saying goodbye. The next week, Tyler called. I could hear Cassandra coaching him in the background, her voice a whisper beneath his words. "Mom, Cassie has a point. You should really think about downsizing. All those stairs, all that upkeep. Maybe you could move to, I don't know, Mississippi? Closer to your new property?" The suggestion was deliberately cruel. He knew I had no connection to Mississippi, no friends there, no support system. It was designed to hurt. "Tyler," I said quietly, "when did you stop thinking for yourself?" The line went silent. Then he hung up. Ella called me that evening, furious. "Mom, Cassandra's telling everyone you're mentally declining. She's saying you don't understand finances, that Dad wasn't in his right mind when he made the will. She's calling aunts, uncles, cousins. She's trying to turn the whole family against you." "Let her," I said. "The truth always comes out eventually." But it hurt. It hurt to know my son's wife was spreading lies about me, painting me as a confused old woman who'd manipulated her dying husband. It hurt to know Tyler was letting her do it. Meanwhile, Cassandra moved quickly on the Miami properties. She evicted the tenants, long-time renters who'd been there for years, some for over a decade. She gave them 30 days' notice, barely legal. She wanted them out fast so she could renovate and sell. She hired an expensive property management company and demanded luxury upgrades: granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, new flooring. She spent $60,000 across the 6 properties, using money from their savings and a line of credit. Then she listed all 6 houses simultaneously. The Miami market was hot. Within 3 weeks, Shed sold 4 of the properties. After closing costs, agent fees, and renovation expenses, they netted about $300,000. She kept 2 houses as rentals, immediately raising the rents by 40%. Cassandra flaunted the money everywhere. New Mercedes in the driveway. Designer handbags in every photo she posted online. A vacation to Turks and Caicos, documented in excruciating detail on social media. She posted photos with captions like, "Living our best life thanks to hardworking family," and "Blessed beyond measure." Never mentioned Gerald by name. Just vague references to family and blessings. I saw every post. Ella showed them to me, furious on my behalf. But I said nothing. I just waited. Then, exactly 1 month after the will reading, a certified letter arrived at my door. I signed for it, opened the thick envelope, and read the contents. It was from a law firm I'd never heard of. Cassandra had hired them to contest Gerald's will. The letter was vicious. It accused me of undue influence, of manipulating Gerald during his illness when he was vulnerable and not thinking clearly. It claimed I'd isolated him from his family, turned him against his son, and coerced him into changing his will. It demanded that the Mississippi property be divided equally among all heirs. I called Ella and read her the letter. She was livid. How dare she? After everything, after all Dad did for them, after all you've done. "Mom, we need to fight this," I smiled. Let her dig her hole deeper, sweetheart. Let her show everyone who she really is. Ella paused. Mom, what did Dad really leave you? You've been so calm through all of this. You know something, don't you? Your father and I had no secrets, I said. He told me everything before he died. But the time isn't right yet. That night, I booked a flight to Mississippi. It was time to visit the property. Time to see what Gerald had prepared for me. Time to handle the business that needed handling. I packed a small suitcase, told Ella where I was going, and drove to the airport. As I sat in the terminal waiting for my flight, I thought about Gerald. I could almost hear his voice, see his gentle smile. Had planned this all so carefully, every detail thought through, every contingency considered. Trust me, Bryn, Head said in those final days. Just trust me. And I did, completely. I flew from Atlanta to Jackson, Mississippi on a bright Thursday morning. The flight was short, barely an hour, and I rented a car at the airport. The drive south took another 2 hours through changing landscape. Interstate gave way to state highways, which narrowed into country roads. Pine forests stretched on both sides, broken occasionally by small towns that seemed frozen in time. Magnolia Springs appeared suddenly. Population 812 according to the sign. One main street ran through the center. I saw a gas station, a diner with faded paint, the county courthouse, a white church with a tall steeple. People waved as I drove past. That automatic friendliness you find in small southern towns. I waved back, feeling oddly comforted. I followed my GPS to Route 47, then turned onto a dirt road marked only by a rusty mailbox. The car bumped along for half a mile through dense woods. Then the trees opened up, and I saw it. The shed stood in a clearing, exactly as worthless as it had appeared all those years ago. Weathered wood, peeling paint, a roof that sagged on one side. It looked abandoned, forgotten. 20 acres of land surrounded it, mostly scrubby grass and scattered pine trees. Nothing remarkable, nothing valuable. I parked and sat for a moment, just looking. Then I got out and walked around the property. The September air was warm and humid, cicadas singing in the trees. I found the lockbox exactly where Gerald said it would be, hidden behind a loose board on the back wall. I entered the combination, our wedding date, and it clicked open. Inside was a thick envelope, marked in Gerald's handwriting. For Bryn. Open here. My hands shook as I pulled out the letter. I sat down on the shed's old steps and began to read. My dearest Bryn, the letter began, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you've dealt with enough from Cassandra. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from her while I was alive, but I can protect you now. He explained everything. 5 years ago, Head started noticing Cassandra's true nature. Head overheard her on the phone with a friend, laughing about securing the inheritance. Head heard her coaching Tyler on how to handle the old people. Gerald had investigated quietly and discovered Cassandra had accumulated $40,000 in secret credit card debt. She was banking on the inheritance to pay it off. Gerald's heart had broken. Head raised Tyler better than this, taught him better values, but he also understood that Tyler was lost, caught in Cassandra's web. So Gerald made a decision. I will give them what they deserve, he wrote. The Miami houses look valuable, and they are worth something. But I deliberately stopped maintaining them 5 years ago. I let problems accumulate, deferred repairs, ignored issues. Those houses will cost them money, not make them money. Let Cassandra have what she thinks she wants. I kept reading, tears streaming down my face. Now, about Mississippi. 10 years ago, a geologist named Dr. Raymond Chen contacted me. The property sits on a natural gas deposit, small but commercially viable. I spent the next 5 years negotiating quietly with energy companies. 2 years ago, I signed a mineral rights lease with Southern Energy Partners. My breath caught. Mineral rights. Natural gas, Gerald continued. They gave me a signing bonus of $500,000. I put it in a trust account in your name. Bryn. The quarterly royalty payments will start 6 months after my death. The company estimates between $30,000 and $50,000 per quarter. For the next 20 to 30 years, total value, potentially $3 to $5 million over time. I sat there on those old steps, laughing and crying at the same time. My brilliant, careful, loving husband. But there's more. The letter continued. The timber rights on the land are worth another $150,000. I converted the shed to a legal trust office. Everything is documented, ironclad, professional. Mr. Dawson in town has all the paperwork, has expecting you. The letter ended with words that broke my heart and healed it at the same time. Cassandra wanted the money. I gave her the work. You, my love, get the reward. Take care of our Ella. And forgive Tyler when he finally sees the truth. Hes lost, but Hes still our son. I love you forever. Gerald. I sat there for a long time, holding that letter, feeling Gerald's presence, 42 years of marriage, and Hed protected me even from beyond the grave. Hed seen what I'd seen, known what I'd known, and planned for it all. I called Ella. When she answered, I could barely speak through my tears. Ella, your father, he was so brilliant. I read her the entire letter. She cried too, laughing through the tears. Dad knew. He always knew. But I haven't told you the best part yet, I said. I drove into Magnolia Springs and found the law office of Mr. Bernard Dawson. It was in a small brick building on Main Street, above the hardware store. Mr. Dawson was in his 70s, with white hair and gentle eyes that reminded me of Gerald. Mrs. Bryn, he said, shaking my hand. I've been expecting you. Gerald was a good man, one of the finest I ever knew. He led me to his office and pulled out files. Thick files full of documents, contracts, surveys. Your husband set up something remarkable here, he said. But there's more he asked me to tell you in person. He handed me bank statements. Mrs. Bryn, the first royalty payment arrived last week. $43,000, deposited into your trust account. I stared at the numbers, still not quite believing. But there's something else, Mr. Dawson continued. 5 years ago, Gerald purchased the surrounding 150 acres. In your name. He paid for it, with careful savings that Cassandra knew nothing about. He showed me a property map, my 20 acres in the center, surrounded by another 150 acres, all in my name. That land is valuable, Mrs. Bryn. A developer has approached us about building a retirement community. They've made an offer. $1.2 million. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Mr. Dawson smiled. Gerald told me, when Bryn's ready, she'll know what to do. You're not just secure, Mrs. Bryn, you're wealthy. Truly wealthy. Between the mineral rights, the land sale potential, and the trust account, you're looking at over $4 million. Meanwhile, Tyler and Cassandra got assets worth maybe $800,000, minus repairs, mortgages, and maintenance. They thought they got the treasure. They got the trap. I asked Mr. Dawson the question that had been burning in my mind. Did Gerald set this up because he knew what Cassandra was? Mr. Dawson nodded slowly. He said to me, Bernard, she wanted to marry money. Let her learn what real work looks like. He wanted to teach your son a lesson about values, about what really matters. I flew back to Atlanta that evening, my mind spinning with everything I'd learned. Gerald had given me more than security, had given me freedom, power, and the ability to watch his plan unfold exactly as Hed designed it. And I was going to enjoy every single moment. 6 weeks had passed since the will reading. I returned from Mississippi and said nothing to anyone except Ella. Cassandra's will contest moved forward. Shed hired an aggressive attorney, a man named Marcus Webb, who specialized in inheritance disputes. He was demanding depositions, filing motions, making noise. Cassandra spread her rumors constantly. At family gatherings I no longer attended, she painted herself as the victim. Poor Tyler. His mother won't be reasonable about the properties. She's holding on to that worthless land out of spite. She must have manipulated Gerald in his final days. He wasn't himself, you know. The cancer, the medications. Tyler went along with it all. Not actively participating, but not stopping it either. His silence was its own betrayal. Ella tried to talk to him twice, and both times he refused to see her. Meanwhile, the Miami properties began showing their true nature. The two houses Cassandra kept as rentals started having problems, major problems. In October, 3 months after taking possession, one of the houses had a complete plumbing failure. The main line collapsed, flooding the basement. The repair bill was $45,000. Then the roof on the second rental started leaking. Not just a shingle problem, but structural damage that Gerald had known about and ignored. That repair cost $30,000. Cassandra was furious. She called contractors, demanded explanations. Why didn't the inspection catch this? How could this happen? The contractors told her the truth. Mom, these are deferred maintenance issues. This didn't happen overnight. These problems have been building for years. But Gerald always said the houses were in good condition, she protested. Then he wasn't being honest, ma'am. Or he wasn't keeping up with repairs. The 4 houses Shed already sold started coming back to haunt her too. The new owners discovered problems, foundation cracks, electrical issues, mold. They threatened lawsuits for non-disclosure. Cassandra had to hire an attorney to defend against those claims, costing her another $15,000. Shed thought she was getting $2 million in assets. After repairs, legal fees, selling costs, and property taxes, they'd netted maybe $200,000. And Shed already spent $80,000 on her car, her shopping sprees, and that vacation. Tyler finally sat down and did the math. I know because Ella told me. Head gone to her, defeated and confused. We thought we were getting rich, he said, but the money's disappearing. All those repairs Dad never did. It's like he let the properties deteriorate on purpose. Ella had looked at him steadily. Maybe he did. But why would he do that? Ella just shook her head. You need to ask Mom, before it's too late. But Tyler didn't call. Pride, or shame, or Cassandra's influence kept him silent. Cassandra, however, became obsessed with Mississippi. She couldn't let it go. She kept returning to the same question. Why would Gerald leave his wife of 42 years a worthless property? It didn't make sense. Something was wrong. Something was hidden. She hired a private investigator, paid him $3,000 to research the Magnolia Springs property. The investigator reported back. Nothing remarkable. Agricultural land, low value. Small town, no development prospects. However, there was unusual activity 3 years ago. Geological surveys were conducted. Companies inquiring about mineral rights. Cassandra's instincts kicked in. Mineral rights. She spent hours researching online. Mississippi natural gas deposits, shale formations, fracking operations. She discovered that parts of Mississippi had active natural gas extraction. She called Tyler in a panic. Your father found something. I know he did. That land isn't worthless. Why else would geologists be surveying it? Tyler tried to calm her. Cassie, you're reading too much into this. Dad wouldn't hide something like that. But Cassandra couldn't sleep. The uncertainty gnawed at her. Shed celebrated too publicly, been too confident. If she was wrong, Shed looked like a fool. On a Tuesday morning in late October, Cassandra showed up at my house unannounced. I was in the kitchen, making coffee, when I heard pounding on the door. I opened it to find her standing there, dressed in expensive clothes but looking frantic. She pushed past me without being invited. We need to talk. Good morning to you too, Cassandra. What's on that property? She whirled to face me. What did Gerald find? I poured my coffee slowly, deliberately calm. Why would you think there's anything there? Because I know he did something. Her voice rose to a shout. Tell me. I sat down at the kitchen table, sipped my coffee. You got exactly what you asked for, Cassandra. The properties you wanted. Those houses are money pits. She slammed her hand on the counter. He tricked us. He knew they needed work and gave them to us anyway. I looked at her steadily. He gave you exactly what you valued, the appearance of wealth. Her face contorted with rage. I'll fight this. I'll take you to court. I'll prove you manipulated him. I set down my coffee cup. Go ahead, but ask yourself this. Why would a man who built a modest fortune through 40 years of hard work suddenly leave his wife of 42 years a worthless shed? Does that sound like Gerald to you? Cassandra froze. The logic was inescapable. You wanted the quick payout, I continued. You got it. But you never asked what Gerald actually valued. You never wondered why he made the choices he made. How much? Cassandra demanded. How much is it worth? The Mississippi property? I smiled. More than you'll ever see from those Miami houses. She lunged forward, actually tried to grab papers from the counter, thinking they might hold answers. Ella walked in at that exact moment. She'd come by to check on me, as she did every day now. Ella pulled out her phone. I'm filming this. Try it again. Cassandra backed off, her chest heaving. She pointed at me, her finger shaking. This isn't over. You hear me? This isn't over. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. Ella looked at me. Mom, maybe it's time to tell Tyler the truth. I shook my head. Not yet. He needs to see who Cassandra really is first. He needs to make his own choice. 3 days after Cassandra's outburst, I did something I hadn't done in months. I called Tyler directly and asked him to come over. Alone. There was a long pause on the phone. Then he said quietly, "Okay, Mom." He arrived that evening just as the sun was setting. I opened the door and saw my son standing there, and my heart broke. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, shoulders slumped, wearing a wrinkled shirt. This wasn't the confident young man I'd raised. This was someone who'd lost himself. Come in, sweetheart, I said. We sat in the living room, the same room where Head played as a child, where Wed celebrated birthdays and Christmases, where Gerald and I had raised him with love and care. Tyler sat on the edge of the couch, his hands clasped between his knees. Mom, I don't know what's happening anymore. I sat across from him. Talk to me. Really talk to me. It all came out. The stress, the confusion, the money problems. Cassie showed me projections, numbers. She made it seem like you and Dad were irresponsible with money. She said you were holding on to the Mississippi land out of spite, that you were trying to hurt us. I asked gently. When did you stop trusting me, Tyler? His face crumpled. I don't know. It happened so gradually. Cassie would say things, little things, and they'd build up. She'd show me articles about elder financial abuse, about how sometimes older people make poor decisions. And I started wondering if maybe she was right. I got up and went to Gerald's old desk. I pulled out the financial records Head kept meticulously for 40 years. Every investment, every savings account, every decision documented. I brought them to Tyler. Your father and I saved every penny for 40 years. We lived below our means so you and Ella could have opportunities. Look at these records. See the sacrifices we made. Tyler went through the files, tears streaming down his face. He found the records of Gerald's second job, the one Head worked for 3 years to pay for Tyler's college. He found the vacation fund Bryn had cashed out to afford a $5,000 wedding gift for Tyler and Cassandra. He saw it all documented in careful detail. I've been such a fool, Tyler whispered. I moved to sit beside him. Took his hand. You were manipulated, honey. There's a difference. Then I showed him what Ella had uncovered. Text messages Cassandra had sent to friends. Messages Ella had gotten from one of Cassandra's former college roommates who'd grown disgusted with her behavior. Just need to wait for the old man to die, then we're set. Tyler's easy to manipulate, he'll do whatever I say. His mother's the problem, but once we get the properties, well, cut her out. Tyler read them, his face going pale. Then red, then pale again. Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know, sweetheart. Do you love her? I asked quietly. Or do you love who you thought she was? Tyler's voice broke. I don't know anymore. Maybe I never did. Maybe I was just flattered that someone like her wanted someone like me. Someone like her, I said gently, is not someone worth having. Tyler looked at me with red eyes. What did Dad leave you, Mom? Really? I decided it was time. I showed him Gerald's letter. Let him read his father's words. Tyler cried as he read. understanding washing over him. Dad knew, he whispered. He knew what Cassie was. For years, I confirmed. But he loved you. He hoped you'd see it yourself. I showed Tyler the financial documents from Mississippi, the mineral rights, the royalty payments, the land value, the timber rights. Tyler did the math in his head, his eyes widening. You're wealthy, he said. Actually wealthy. I corrected him gently. We're wealthy. This was always meant for family. Your father wanted to teach you something. He wanted you to see what greed looks like versus what love looks like. As we sat there talking, I heard a car door slam. Then the front door opened. Cassandra had a key, had let herself in without knocking. She walked into the living room and stopped dead when she saw us together, documents spread across the coffee table. Her eyes scanned the papers, and I saw her face change as understanding dawned. She saw the bank statements, the royalty agreements, the land valuations. Tyler, she said, her voice shaking. We need to go, now. But Tyler stood up, and for the first time in years, I saw steel in his spine. No, Cassandra's composure shattered. Her voice turned pleading, desperate. Tyler, I was just trying to secure our future. I was protecting us. I grew up with nothing. I was scared. I've seen the texts, Cassie, Tyler said quietly. The ones you sent to your friends, about me being easy to manipulate, about waiting for Dad to die. Cassandra's mask finally dropped completely. Her face twisted into something ugly. You were a means to an end, and you were stupid enough to fall for it. Tyler actually laughed, a bitter, broken sound. Our whole marriage was a lie? Cassandra snarled. Oh, please. You were boring and average, but you had money coming. That's all that mattered, and she turned to me, fury radiating from her. How much is that Mississippi land worth? I remained seated, calm. Enough that I'll never have to worry. Unlike you, who'll be paying off debt for years, Cassandra screamed, actually screamed like an animal, and lunged at me. Tyler blocked her, physically stepping between us. Get out, he said. His voice was firm, final. I'll take everything in the divorce, Cassandra shrieked. I'll destroy you. My lawyer will contact you, Tyler replied. And Cassie? Well, be mentioning fraud, manipulation, and those text messages. Judge might find them interesting. Cassandra looked between us, realizing she'd lost. You'll regret this. Both of you. She grabbed her purse and stormed out. The door slammed so hard a picture fell off the wall. Tyler caught it before it hit the floor. It was a photo of him as a little boy, sitting on Gerald's shoulders, both of them laughing. He stared at that photo for a long time. I've lost so much, Mom. So much time. So many years I can't get back. I put my arm around him. But you found your way home. That's what matters now. 6 months passed, and the transformation was remarkable. Cassandra's will contest was dismissed within weeks once the Mississippi property's true value was revealed. Her attorney withdrew from the case, actually apologized to the judge for wasting the court's time. The evidence was overwhelming. Gerald had been completely competent, had planned everything meticulously, and had been more than fair in his distributions. The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal for Cassandra. Tyler's attorney presented the text messages, evidence of Cassandra's secret debt, proof that she'd researched the family's finances before even meeting Tyler. The judge ruled that she'd entered the marriage under false pretenses, engaged in fraud and manipulation throughout. Cassandra received nothing in the settlement, not a single dollar. She was left with her $60,000 in credit card debt and no assets. She had to move back in with her parents in disgrace. Her social media accounts disappeared after the story leaked to the family. Former friends came forward with stories of her lies and manipulations going back years. Tyler moved back to the family home temporarily, not as a permanent solution, but as a place to heal. He started seeing a therapist, working through how he'd been manipulated, learning to trust himself again. Every few days, he'd apologize. Mom, I'm so sorry. I said it so many times, in so many ways, and every time, I'd respond the same way. You're still my son. You were lost, but you're finding your way back. Tyler apologized to Ella too. She forgave him, though it took time to rebuild that trust. They started having lunch together once a week, then twice, brother and sister, finding their way back to each other. Tyler took over management of the 2 remaining Miami properties. He fixed them properly this time, hired good contractors, became a responsible landlord. He learned the value of maintenance, of honest work, of building something real instead of chasing quick money. The Mississippi property became exactly what Gerald had envisioned. The first year's royalty payments totaled $180,000. I used that money carefully. $50,000 went to set up college funds for future grandchildren. $50,000 more to Gerald's favorite charity, the Atlanta Food Bank, in his name. I paid off Ella's mortgage as a thank you for her unwavering loyalty. The rest went into savings for security and freedom. I decided not to sell the development land yet. Something told me to wait, to let it appreciate more. Instead, I hired a local contractor to renovate the shed. We transformed it into a small, beautiful cabin, 2 bedrooms, a cozy living area, a porch that overlooked the pines, a place where family could come to reconnect, to remember Gerald, to learn about values that matter more than money. One Sunday, 6 months to the day after Gerald's death, I hosted dinner at the family home. Everyone came: Tyler, Ella and her husband Marcus, a few close cousins. Tyler brought a guest, a woman named Anne. She was a teacher at the same school where Id taught, younger than Tyler by a few years. She had kind eyes and a genuine smile. Anne had no idea about our family's money. She loved Tyler for who he was, not what he had. When she talked about her students and her classroom, her face lit up with passion. I saw Tyler watching her with something I hadn't seen in years: real affection, honest connection. During dinner, Tyler stood up. He cleared his throat, suddenly emotional. "I want to say something." He looked at me, tears in his eyes. "Mom, thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for letting me come home." Then he looked around the table. "Dad taught me something these past months, even though he's gone. He taught me the hardest lesson I've ever learned. I thought I wanted money and status, and the easy life. But what I really needed was to understand what actually matters." Tyler announced he was donating half of his remaining inheritance to charity. The rest he'd used to help others, to build something meaningful. "I don't want to coast on what Dad built," he said. "I want to earn my own way. Like he did. Like Mom did." I cried. Ella cried. We were all crying, but they were good tears, healing tears. After dinner, as everyone was leaving, Anne pulled me aside. "Mrs. Bryn, Tyler told me what happened. What Cassandra did, what your husband did." She smiled. "Gerald sounds like he was an amazing man." "He was," I said. "The best man I ever knew. Tyler's lucky to have you as his mother, to have someone who believed in him enough to let him find his own way back." Later that evening, I sat alone in the living room, looking at Gerald's photograph. It was my favorite picture of him, taken on our 30th anniversary. He was laughing at something Id said, his eyes crinkled with joy. I pulled out my journal, something Id started keeping after Gerald's death. It helped me process everything, kept me connected to him. I wrote, "Gerald, you magnificent man. You taught us all one last lesson. You showed Tyler what greed destroys and what love builds. You gave Cassandra exactly what she asked for, and she learned it wasn't enough. You gave me security. Yes, but more than that, you gave me the joy of watching our son come home. The real inheritance was never the properties or the land. It was the lesson that character matters more than cash, and family matters more than fortune. I miss you every day, but I see you in Tyler's eyes now when he looks at me with respect instead of greed. That's worth more than all the mineral rights in Mississippi. You protected me, taught our son, and gave us all one final gift, the gift of understanding what really matters." I closed the journal and thought about everything we'd been through. Gerald had been right about so many things. Cassandra had wanted the appearance of wealth, and it had crumbled in her hands. Tyler had chosen greed over family, and it had cost him everything until he finally chose right. And I had trusted Gerald's plan, even when it was painful, even when I didn't understand it fully. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Tyler standing there. "Can I come in, Mom?" "Anne went home, but I'm not ready to go back to my place yet." "Of course, sweetheart." We sat on the porch, the same porch where Gerald and I had spent countless evenings. Tyler said quietly, "I keep thinking about what Dad wrote in that letter, about how he hoped I'd see the truth myself, about how he still loved me even though he knew I was wrong." "That's what parents do," I said. "We love you through your mistakes. We wait for you to find your way home." Tyler looked at me. "I learned something, Mom. I learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them face the consequences of their choices. Dad didn't punish me. He educated me." "Exactly," I said. "He gave you exactly what you thought you wanted and let you discover it wasn't enough." We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Tyler asked, "What are you going to do with all that money, Mom? The royalties? The land?" I smiled. "Live my life. Help my family. Support causes that matter. And remember every day that your father's greatest gift wasn't the money. It was teaching us what really matters." Tyler took my hand. "I get it now, Mom. Real wealth isn't in bank accounts. It's in relationships, integrity, and peace of mind. It's in knowing the people who love you for who you are, not what you have. Your father would be so proud to hear you say that." "I hope so. I hope wherever he is, he knows I finally understand." I squeezed his hand. "He knows, sweetheart. Trust me. He knows." We sat together watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, my son beside me, my family healing, justice served not through revenge but through truth. Cassandra was gone, facing the consequences of her choices. Tyler was home, wiser and humbled. Ella was happy and secure. And Gerald's legacy lived on, not in dollar amounts but in lessons learned and love restored. I thought about what I'd tell anyone listening to this story, about what they could learn from our journey, and I realized the lessons were simple but profound. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them face the consequences of their choices. Gerald didn't punish Tyler. He educated him through experience. When you choose greed over love, you may get what you want, but you'll lose what you need. Cassandra got her properties and her money, but she lost everything that actually mattered. And when you choose family over fortune, you may think you're sacrificing, but you're actually gaining everything that lasts. Real wealth isn't in bank accounts. It's in the peace of mind that comes from knowing your relationships are genuine. It's in the integrity that lets you sleep soundly at night. It's in the love that remains when everything else falls away. My husband left me more than land and royalties. He left me the satisfaction of watching our son remember who he was raised to be. He left me the joy of family restored and lessons learned. He left me proof that truth and love always outlast greed and manipulation. That's an inheritance no lawyer can contest, and no amount of money can buy. That's the legacy that really matters. And that's what Gerald gave us all. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone showed their true colors, and you had to decide whether to fight back or let the truth reveal itself? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about family, betrayal, and the justice that comes from staying true to your values. Share this with someone who needs to hear that truth always wins in the end. Thank you for listening to my story, and may you always choose love over greed, truth over convenience, and family over fortune. God bless you all.